course, people are wanting to talk a lot about the relaunch, which started in some phases here in Calgary today. And I've not been using the word relaunch because I don't want people to think that this really is, hey, it's go time, things are back to normal. What this is looking at a new way of dealing with ourselves. So those who go to retail stores will actually find it's very different than it was before. And I'll come back to a lot of conversations around this easing of restrictions, around the announcement yesterday from the province and what it means for the city of Calgary as we move forward. But before we do that, I do want to remind people, as I always do, of how serious this is. Since last we spoke, we have lost 2 more of our neighbors, 2 more of our people here in Calgary. That takes us to 84 Calgarians who've lost their lives as a result of this virus, and that's something we can never forget. So as we get into conversations about this business opening or that business opening, or my wanting to do this on the long weekend or that on the long weekend, let's just remember we're talking about people's lives. But my theme today is let's be kind and let's be forgiving. And nobody really knows what they're doing in this very new world. And ultimately, the province made the decision based on the best evidence they had, and it was the right decision. So, let's do what we can to mitigate some of the bad outcomes of that. Frankly, I know that many restaurants were actually going to wait until after the weekend anyway to see if they could get through the new guidelines. And for those that were unable to, let's just support them as much as we can. So yeah, I would have loved to have had this announcement a week ago. I would have loved to have had the announcement on Monday. Ultimately, it's not something worth barking about in a place where we're trying to be kind and everyone's doing the best they can. I have been looking carefully at the rates of community transmission. So there are 3 numbers called R, RT, and R naught. And those are very hard numbers to actually calculate for the city of Calgary, but we can look at them across the province. And what those numbers mean is how many people is an infected person going to infect? And what you want to have is you want to have that number well below 1. So in other words, each infected person infects less than 1 other person. An R1 means you're going to double your outbreak, and an R above 1 means you're going to double it and triple it more quickly. So what we know is that the overall R values in Alberta have been quite low. They have been at the point where we're not that worried about outbreaks creating large amounts of community transmission. But what we've seen since the Cargill outbreak in Calgary is that our R number remains stubbornly high. And so that's really the issue. You want to get that community transmission number down in order to feel more comfortable that people can go out and not worry about getting sick when they go out. So Germany is a good example here. As you know, there's been a really good clip from Angela Merkel, like a month ago now, Tom, where she talks in some detail in German, and I don't speak German, but there are subtitles, about the R number. And she talks about how incredibly sensitive the healthcare system is to that R number. That if the R number goes up like 0.2 of or 20 basis points, 0.2 from R1.1 to R1.3, for example, it actually overwhelms the healthcare system immediately. And so and unfortunately, that is what has happened in Germany. As they eased restrictions in certain states of Germany, the R number went up, and in one day they tripled the number of new cases versus the previous day, and they've had to pull back on their restrictions. And even though I keep talking about how this is a dial or a faucet that you can open and close, you don't want to close it. You really don't want to. That's really devastating to those businesses. So fundamentally, you want to make sure that when you open it, you are sure. And that's why I think it was the right thing to do.
As businesses start to launch this weekend, our business licensing group is expecting far higher volumes. The Public Safety Task Force between business licensing, Alberta Health Services, the Calgary Police Services, Alberta Gaming, Liquor, and Cannabis will be out starting today. And they'll investigate businesses across the city to ensure that the orders by the province are being followed. Additional bylaw officers will be patrolling this weekend, and they'll work very hard to educate and provide warnings. Now, I'm going to say to you, again, I'll go offline for a second. We've spent a lot of time talking to folks about the fact that they need to socially distance. Do not be surprised if our peace officers give you a ticket for not socially distancing. I can't sort of understate the importance of this right now. We didn't get to go forward because we didn't drive the rate of COVID down. Collectively, we didn't do that. And so we need to be out there and we need to be reminding, you picked the number, the 2% that aren't socially distancing. We need to remind them that we must socially distance. As you know, we had a outbreak at the Cascades Recovery Sorting Facility, and it's been temporarily suspended. So we did, first off, they did a deep clean, and then back in came health. They said, let's do it one more time. So we did a really deep clean again, and that's our contractor that's there. They've had about 19 people with COVID, and so it's not that you're at any risk as the public. It's that we need to make sure that facility is absolutely safe for those employees who go to work. That means we're going to have to interrupt the blue bin. You have a couple of choices. First off, you can hold your material out of your blue bin, or you could choose not to put your blue bin out. But if you do put your blue bin out on the curb for the next couple of days, we will be taking it away and unfortunately having to put it into the landfill. When we come back on stream, if you put your bin out, we'll be able to recycle it again. I can tell you